All right.
So, my name's Alina Stevenson.
Ryann
Larker. And this is our Breaking the Divide project with the Chechetu family. So we went and interviewed the Chechetus at their home. And this is what we found out about them. They moved here from Zimbabwe in 2009. Karen, the mother, wanted to come to the U.S. to study biochemistry. She had a connection with a friend here at TSU and was able to get into the program here. She's working on her PhD in biochemistry currently, and she finished her bachelor's in Zimbabwe. Lennon, her husband, he is currently living in Indiana, but they first came together to Portland. Actually, let me back up. So Karen came here first 2 months before Lennon and their daughter Kaylee, and 2 months after Kaylee and her dad were able to get their visas to come to the U.S. And within I think it was like a few months, he got a job in Indiana, and so he decided to go to Indiana to get this job as a pharmacist to help support the family financially while Karen is working on her PhD. Kaylee, their daughter, is 6 years old right now. She attended kindergarten at Helen Gordon in my class this past year, and currently is attending their neighborhood school in Beaverton. So this is where they're from, Zimbabwe, and Karen went to college in Bulawayo, I don't know how to pronounce that, and Lennon went to college in Harare, the capital city of Zimbabwe. This is the capital city, and it's very similar to, it's kind of similar to Portland, but they grew up in rural Zimbabwe, and this is a small town. This was Karen's home that she grew up in, and this is their neighborhood currently in Beaverton, Murray Hill. These are the apartments that they live in. They are very nice apartments, and this is a shopping center. They're very close to a lot of resources, but the demographics of races in their zip code kind of show that there's definitely a huge representation of white people, and then there's a very, very small population of black people. These are the schools in Zimbabwe. They show the context from where Lennon and Karen come from in their education background. We'll talk more about the education experience in a little bit. This is just some quick background. This is Helen Gordon, where Kaylee went to kindergarten, and this is Nancy Riles Elementary School, where she is currently going to public school for first grade.
So the education in Zimbabwe tends to be a lot more strict than it is here. Lennon went to a Catholic school where there was a lot of more corporal punishment, and there was a lot more rules enforced. There was also no differentiation for students there, so if you needed more time on a test, or if you just needed any kind of assistance, there wasn't any, and you were just considered to be dumb, and you fell behind in the school system. And there was, they believed strongly, the family believes strongly that learning should be holistically, so it should happen both at home and in school, where that doesn't really happen much in Zimbabwe. It's pretty much done in school, and they sit, like that picture showed, in rows with uniforms, and it's very just step by step. There's no variety if students need it. When they came here, they were really surprised and happy to see that there was, if their daughter needed any sort of assistance, that it would be provided, and they wouldn't have to worry that their daughter would be punished like she would have been back in Zimbabwe. And with her dad living in Indiana, she's had a lot of behavior issues, and here she was given the opportunity to explain what was going on with their daughter and why she was acting that way, and then they were able to work with that and give her the resources she needed where if she had gone to school in Zimbabwe, they would have beaten her every day to get her behavior to be the way they expected it to be. And so they were really happy with that, but they feel that here students have it too easy. All they have to do is show up, attempt the work, and they would get moved on to the next grade. And so they don't like that. They're worried their daughter's not going to be challenged as much as she needs to be. So they are trying to do that at home. They also were trying to get her into a Catholic school, but because they're not practicing Catholic, she's on the wait list. But so they're also trying to teach her the ways that will happen when they go back to Zimbabwe, where it's a lot more strict and you have to be very respectful to your teachers, where here there's not a real clear line on how you act with your teacher. As much, they feel there's not the same respect as there is with the teachers there. But overall, they've been really happy with how the school system has been.
You might want to add Lennon's background in education.
Lennon went to Catholic school.
So he's very proud of that, the rigor that it offers. So that's why they're interested in getting Haley into Catholic school.
Yeah. So we really enjoyed this whole experience and feel like we learned a lot from this family. Some of the things that we want to mention in our analysis are that, first of all, the Chichetis are going to go back to Zimbabwe after Karen finishes her PhD. So we're wondering how that might have affected their answers, knowing that it's not until Kaylee's done with school for the rest of her life she's going to be in this system. Because it was really positive, which was obviously nice, especially for Alina, I'm sure, because they were with you. And we're wondering how it's going to be in first grade for her. But anyway, that might have been a factor, so we just wanted to bring that up. So we did learn that they feel like students have it too easy here, and I think we've all experienced that in our own lives. So it is really important as teachers to make sure that we're challenging our students as much as we can. Not just because they'll learn more, but because it shows respect. Like, we respect your child enough to really challenge them, no matter where they're from. And you know, a father like Lennon, who grew up being used to being really challenged, would appreciate that and recognize it. So we can learn that from them. Then we also talked about in our analysis how, in a more metacognitive sense, critical race theory talks about using narrative to help understand, for white people to understand racism, you can hear the narrative of people of color talking about their oppression. So in a bigger sense, that's kind of what we did here, because we're hearing their story and it's helping us understand what they think about education, because none of us have even been to Zimbabwe, you know, like we wouldn't really understand. So it's cool to be able to do this interview project, and you know, it's just a great way to learn more about the potential students that we're going to have through their narrative, and not just learning facts about Zimbabwe or something. And so the third thing that we realized was that, let's see, how do I want to say this? This is worded really complicated. This is the part where you're like, this is complicated. I was like, yes. So we're talking about how the father, Lennon, appreciated that his Catholic schooling was really intense and difficult, and also that they were appreciating the differentiation, the accommodation that students get here. So we need to recognize
extremes.
Yeah, and we need to recognize that our parents are going to come at us with their own backgrounds and their own expectations and experiences, and that they can both appreciate where they're coming from, but also acknowledge and respect what we have to offer, we hope. And so, you know, there's a good balance of where people are coming from and then what we can offer them that might be different from what their experience is, and that's a really great thing. So I hope I explained that well. It's kind of confusing even for me right now. The final thing is just making sure as a teacher that you can access resources, whether they're people or places or books, that can help you understand where each of your students are coming from, and really take that time to seek out those resources, because they're definitely there, and you just need to make sure that you find them. So, should we finish with your email?
So, finishing up this project, it really prompted me to go ahead and reach out to Karen and Lennon to find out how is Kaylee doing in her first few weeks of first grade and the transition. And so I emailed her mom, and she responded to me this morning, and I just wanted to read it because I thought it was really interesting and important to recognize. And so this is what she said. She said, "Hi, thanks for checking in. Kaylee's doing better than I expected. She had a difficult day on the second day of school because that's when Lennon left, so she wasn't listening to her teacher and had to be put on timeout. Since then, she has been really well. She was just asking me the other day when she can visit Helen Gordon. I hope we will be able to bring her in one of their no school days. We're usually open when Portland public schools are closed, or any public schools are closed, and so we invite the alumni children to come and spend a day with us. She made a couple of friends, but going to the new school has also made her aware of her differences to others. She's really worried about why she is the only one with brown skin, and that's a conversation we have almost on a daily basis. I've been to her school volunteering, and the kids in her grade are nice, and she's made friends. She doesn't get picked on or get left out, but she still feels self-conscious about her skin color. She's still seeing her therapist, and I'm hoping that will help her too. The complaint that she had about school, though, is that they don't get a lot of time to read books, and they don't get to draw what they want to. They get printed pictures that they have to color, and she really doesn't like that, but she's getting used to it. She gets to read in the evenings, though, and she gets to go to after-school care where they let them draw whatever they want to, so that's working out great. And she just said, "Thank you so much for checking up on Kaylee. She will be so happy when I tell her that you guys are asking about her." And she said, "We really would love to have you guys over for a Zimbabwean meal, a sadza. It's a dish made with cornmeal served with kale and a meat stew or bean curry. Let me know when you're both free," and this is me and my co-teacher, "and I will make it happen, and feel free to bring your families too," which I just think is so amazing, and how wonderful that they're inviting us and our families into their home to share this cultural experience with them and just get to know them even better. So, one thing we didn't add, are we totally over time?
No.
Is the fact that, I don't think you guys mentioned it, that Kaylee's parents both speak Shona in Zimbabwe, it's their language in Zimbabwe, but they don't speak it with Kaylee. Kaylee doesn't speak it, and the understanding is that they want Kaylee to speak English so that she wouldn't have to deal with a language barrier on top of other maybe cultural barriers, and so, or racial barriers, I don't know. So I thought that was really interesting to know. I think that they just wanted her to be able to succeed quickly, faster, being able to speak the common language, and I mean, I have to add that she is quite accelerated in her reading and writing abilities. At the age of 5, she was reading at a 4th grade level. They read a lot with her, and she writes a lot, and so that just is another kind of example of how important her education is to her parents. So, anyways, we're done. Thank you.